Monday, June 1st, 2015, 9 a.m. in council chambers. So are there any introduction of late items? Any late items on this? No? Thank you. Then we will go on to delegations, and our delegation, Stephen Hill for Septen Financial Limited is not. This must be Stephen Hill right now. Good morning. We'll let you get set up, Mr. Hill, and we will go on to the next issue, and then we'll come back with you in a moment. Is that all right? Okay, thank you. Next, our first item under business is low-income subsidy program, and we have a report from Mrs. Dynison.
So a little bit of background. The Community Services Department regularly receives requests from families to allow registration into children's recreation programs at a reduced cost or free of charge, and occasionally receives the same requests from adults to use the weight room. Currently, there is an unofficial policy to allow children to be registered into programs free of charge based on financial need. The amount of subsidy request approved is approximately $1,500 per year. In addition, there are 3 organizations that provide funding for children to participate in organized sport, such as minor hockey or soccer. Kids Sport and the Canadian Tire Jumpstart Program both provide funding for children to access organized sport, and a local organization, the Spirit of the Game Society, provides funding to allow kids to access organized sport, recreation programs, and larger school field trips. None of these options address low-income adults. In addition, the unofficial Town of Osoyoos policy only requires people requesting the subsidy to write a letter with no proof of actual financial need. As per the recommendation put forward from the Community Services Master Plan and the Town of Osoyoos' business plan, a formal low-income program should be introduced to allow all residents of Osoyoos to be able to participate in recreational programs. Based on requests received from customers and low-income policies developed in other communities, there are 3 variations as to how a low-income subsidy could work in Osoyoos. Considerations that staff made in developing these options include some type of cost recovery to the town, the ability for all individuals to have some form of subsidy, not just children, the percentage of subsidy being based on other communities' formal policies, and the ability to keep a value to the program or service that is being offered. Providing free services are sometimes abused as people do not use it wisely, as there are no repercussions to its use. Regardless of the variation used, a clear set of requirements should be met by individuals in order to receive a subsidy from the Town of Osoyoos. Applications or enrollments includes everyone living within the household. Applicants must apply or enroll each year into the program. Applicants must show proof of residency in Osoyoos or RDOS Area A via 2 types of documents with their address on them. Examples would be a current driver's license, current BCID card, or their last power bill. Applicants must meet one of the following criteria and provide document evidence, such as applicants fall within the low-income cutoff set by Stats Canada. Applicants must show staff a copy of the most current CRA notice of assessment for each member of the family over the age of 19 living within the household. Applicants receive social assistance. Applicant receives disability benefits, or applicant is endorsed by an organization such as the Okanagan Boys and Girls Club or Desert Sun Counseling and Resource Center to verify financial need. In keeping this service flexible for users, there should be no deadline for individuals to apply. The best course of action would be to have a cap or annual allocation available. This would be similar to sports teams' policies where it is available until it is used. If there are special circumstances where the allocation is used, Council can still address the need of the users by approving something extra for them. The families accepted could be limited to a specific number and chosen based on need. This will give greater control over the costs of providing a subsidy program, as well as ensuring that only families in the greatest amount of need receive assistance. The following are 3 variations of a low-income subsidy program that could work in Osoyoos. Variation 1. The cost of enrolling into the subsidy program is a set price to be determined based on administrative costs. Approved applicants ages 12 and older receive access to the weight room, drop-in fitness classes, and/or drop-in sports. Approved applicants ages 0 to 5 years receive access to drop-in parent and taught. Approved applicants receive an additional, for example, 75% off or to be determined amount. Select program select registered programs, including camps. The pros to this variation is it's easy to administer, it addresses the needs for individuals and families, you're still recovering some of the costs, and it includes the camps that we offer. Cons, the cost recovery is minimal, and it's easy to identify those accessing the program, which could affect anonymity. Variation 2, the cost of enrolling into the subsidy program is a set price, which is to be determined based on administrative costs. Approved applicants receive 50 free drop-ins per year per person 12 years and older. Approved applicants receive 1 select program per person per programming session, which is fall, winter, or spring, to a maximum of $50 per course. Approved applicants receive 10 free parent and taught drop-in sessions per session per person under 5 years old, and approved applicants receive 3 weeks of day camps per year per person 5 to 12 years old. The pros to this variation is easier to track costs. There is still some cost recovery through administrative fees. Participants can utilize a variety of services with a smaller cost to the taxpayer. Some of the cons is some difficulty tracking through the registration software system that we use, and a limited amount of programs that can be registered for. Variation 3. Cost of enrolling into the subsidy program is a set price to be determined based on administrative costs. Approved applicants receive 50 free drop-ins per year per person 12 years and older. Approved applicants receive 20 free parent and taught drop-ins per year per person 0 to 5 years old. Approved applicants receive an additional, i.e. 50% or to be determined off select registered programs, including camps for 0 to 99 years old. Pros, it's easier to track the costs. It's better cost recovery, especially for registered programs, and participants can utilize a variety of services with a smaller cost to taxpayer. Cons, it's a limited drop-in, works out to once or twice per week, and there is some difficulty tracking through our registration software system. Variation 3 is the most favorable due to the ease of administration, cost recovery, and what is provided to the approved applicants. And options. So number 1, for council to direct staff to bring to a regular meeting of council a formal low-income subsidy program based on one of the 3 variations listed. 2, for council to adopt a different low-income subsidy program not stated in this report. And 3, for council not to adopt a formal low-income policy and subsidy program at this time. If policy and program is to be developed, direct staff as to what criteria and variation is to be used to formalize the policy and program. Council should consider these options. Do we want a low-income policy for all users, children, families, people with disabilities, or one at all? What type of policy do we need? User pay or free? Should a low-income policy be only available for a limited time of the year or whenever it is needed? Is it important to have some type of cost recovery? What type of percentage do we want to subsidize, 50%, 75%, or 100%? And do we want to include subsidy for programs we do not administer ourselves, and for example, with our outside contractors, Bricks for Kids or Hoodoo Adventures?
Thank you very much, Sarah. That's a very in-depth report. I'm assuming that you're coming to council now because this has become an issue, because as far as I knew, we kind of did this, but we did it quietly, and so there must be a reason for it to be brought now.
Yes, we have a lot of requests, I'd say about 10 families a year. It's hard to keep it consistent for people. And we do have some adults that are coming and asking to use the services that we provide, but we can't give them anything. We don't have anything formal we can give them. Everything's very, very informal, so it's hard to advertise. It's hard to get the word out there. People don't generally want to ask for a handout. So people who really could benefit from it probably aren't accessing it.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
I can just add to that in terms of the overall management and relationship with our auditors. We should have something that if we're providing a program subsidy, if there is income that is not coming to the municipality, it should be backed by a policy that the auditor can clearly identify.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Campbell.
As stated in the report, there's structured organizations that do deal with youth and kids in the community, and and obviously there's a gap there when we're talking about adults getting involved in recreation. Based on that, I'd like to make a motion for council to direct staff to bring to a regular meeting of council a formal low-income subsidy program based on one of the 3 variations listed.
And did you have one of the 3 variations you wanted to include in that?
It was the third variation was the one that
was recommended. We don't make we just make recommendations at this meeting, so we can do that.
Well, you can pass motions to move to the main council meeting
today.
Yes.
Is there? I'd like to give everybody else a chance to speak first. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you. I will second that motion when it comes around.
Okay.
Sarah, great report. I have absolutely no questions. You covered everything. The only thing that's kind of missing out of here is, do you have a preference of the 3 selections? Is there one that works better for you or for staff? Or
yeah, variation 3 is my preference.
Yeah.
And just because it provides a variety of programs and services for families. There is still some cost recovery. There is still some responsibility based to the applicant, financial responsibility, and it is easy enough for us to track. So.
Good. Thank you. Was there anyone else? I guess when I was reading this report, I thought, I like the fact that we're not just saying, sure, come on and come on in, but we are asking them to take a little bit of responsibility to show why it is that they would, a sort of a commitment, I guess. And I think that that's important. And maybe, and I don't know whether it's worth looking at, but maybe a small cost kind of shows a commitment too. And the fact that you have to have these, you know, some of these requirements, a set of requirements that you have here, I think is a good thing. So I'm certainly in favor of the motion. So are we ready for the motion? So Mrs. Scott, would you like to read the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Campbell, second by Councillor Rose, and resolved that council directs staff to bring to a regular meeting of council a formal low-income subsidy program based on variation 3 as outlined in the program supervisor's report.
Thank you. That's okay. Before we take the vote, Councillor Rhodes, yes?
Just a quick question. I know it's not usual we have resolutions, but that last statement suggesting variation 3, that doesn't leave the door open for much debate on the other 2 as well.
Yeah, it does narrow it down. It does narrow the debate. And the reason I kind of let it go is that we would still bring the other options to the table.
Okay.
I would just see that we would bring option 3 kind of dressed up, and if then the other options would still be available.
Or we could take it out.
Or you could take it out.
Yeah.
As a
just
friend,
so that there's fairness in the debate process.
Yes.
In the regular meeting. Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
So take out that variation number 3 part? Okay. I just thought that was what was recommended, so that's what why I was asking. So would we like to have a vote on option 1? All in favor? Against?
Yeah.
No.
I don't get what you're doing.
Yeah,
We're voting that we will have option 1 brought to the next to a meeting of council with in Sarah's report. Yeah, we're just voting that we've agreed to that one, that they bring a report forward, and there was option 2 and option 3, so we're just going with option 1.
Oh yeah, I see.
The resolution that's currently on the table.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right.
are you
Yeah.
both? Okay.
Yep.
So that's carried. Now, do we want to? We're waiting for another meeting. We're not bringing this out into the.
No, we'll bring this back at another meeting.
At another meeting. Okay. So does that take care of that one? Thank you very much, Mrs. Nice. Can we
report, Sarah.
return to the to number 1 on the agenda, which is a delegation, and we have Stephen Hill, president of Septen Financial Limited, and he's going to talk to us about affordable seniors housing. Welcome, Mr. Hill.
for my tardiness.
Oh, that's all right.
My 1.5-hour GPS destination from Kelowna took over 2 hours.
Oh,
They don't account for the highways and
yeah.
the backups and so on. Anyhow, I'd like to thank Lori for having me here today, and I'll take as much or as little time as you require. I don't have a specific plan for Soyuz. What I'd like to talk about is the opening of a discussion of dialogue with regard to low-income housing. And so what I'm going to talk about is the demographic parameters of what's driving this. Right now we have 4 million seniors over the age of 65 in Canada. 80% of them collect guaranteed income supplement, which means they're living on less than $1,300 a month. So the premise of what we're talking about is not the top 20%, but the bottom 80%. Demographically, all of us in this room are going to be in that demographic in the next 10 to 15 years, and there's going to be 8 million of us. Okay?
He has great hair.
Every single day in Canada, 800 people are turning 65. So that's 30 buses coming into Osoyoos today, 30 bus loads coming in tomorrow, 30 bus loads coming in on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a huge demographic shift of people. Now, Osoyoos is the oldest by demographic city in British Columbia. Osoyoos is number 1, Oliver is number 2, and Trail is number 3. I live in Trail. I don't live in Trail, I live in Castlegar, but I work in Trail, and our communities are aging. And I don't know if many of you picked up the Canadian Press article on May 20th. Municipal Study sees looming housing problem, urges Ottawa to stay engaged. And I can leave a copy of that, I don't know if you picked up on it. But it's urging municipalities like Osoyoos, Oliver, Preston, Trail, Roslyn, to look at the senior housing issue. And we're not talking about rich people from Alberta coming and buying $500,000 places. We're looking at people that can afford housing on $1,300 a month. And what we're competing against are communities like Elliott Lake in Ontario. And Elliott Lake is starting at $470 a month. And that's what I call affordable housing. Now, did all of you get a copy of the stick that we sent out and the presentation on that stick? You just circulated the drawing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on the stick that I sent to Lori, I believe you have a copy, is a rendering drawing, internal and external. There we go. And there's an actual walkthrough presentation of that, a video presentation on that stick. I'm not sure if you're able to pull that up, but you can run that while we're going. It's on the rendering side, if you go into the files. So anyhow, while she's looking for that rendering, we'll come back to Osoyoos. So what we've done is we've gone out and we've created an engineering study for the area, and that's the Kootenays, the Okanagan, the east to west Kootenays. And we've put together a proposal or a presentation to create housing in the 600 to 1,200 square foot range. So we're talking small units, and the bulk of the units are going to be 800 to 1,000 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath configurations. And what we're trying to do is figure out how we can affordably build these properties. And our studies come back that it's going to cost us $317,000 on average to build a unit. And that's acquisition of land, that's the your DCCs or whatever the heck they call them, and all the codes that go along with that process here in Canada. 5 minutes across the border, we can build these for half the cost. So that's the function of what we've created with our DCCs, our development guidelines in Canada, versus what we're causing across the border in the U.S. This is a walk through the presentation that we're putting. These are units and configurations of 1 to 3 bedrooms, 600 to 1,200 square feet. So we can run that while we're discussing. So the problem that we have is we can't come forward with affordable housing for the 3.2 million seniors living on less than $1,300 a month at $317,000. So what we need to do is we need to create unique partnerships, private-public partnerships with municipalities across the province. I'm not a developer. I'm a financial planner. And I get sucked into projects like this for various reasons. And the reason I'm getting pulled into this project is my clients are 70, 80, and 90 years of age. They all want to sell their houses in Grand Forks. They all want to sell their houses in Castlegar. They all want to sell their houses in Trail. They all want to sell their houses in Kelowna. And they're all saying there isn't affordable places for us to go. There isn't adequate stock for us to go. And so selling your house for an average price of $250,000 or $300,000 and going to a condo of $500,000 or $600,000 doesn't fit with their with their requirements. And there's 2,000 empty condos in Kelowna right now, all in that $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 price range. The market's being served for the upper 20%. It's not being served for the bottom 80%. So what we need to do is look at unique private-public partnerships. And I'm not sure if any of you know who I am, but I did the mill in Midway in 2011. And I put together the team in 2011 that bought the mill from the Americans, who brought the team of lawyers and accountants together, who partnered with the village of Midway. A lot of you probably know Randy through your UCBM or whatever your municipality organization is, and you can talk about what we did in 2011 in Midway. If it wasn't for the $400,000 of risk capital that the village of Midway put up, that project wouldn't have happened. They didn't invest in it. They invested in the opportunity for the growth of their community. And we fast forward to today, and we now have a successful mill operating with 55 full-time jobs, another 55 indirect jobs in the community of Soyuz. And what's happened is not the magic of what's happened at the mill, but what's happened is the magic of what's happened in the community. We didn't lose any of our schools. We didn't lose any of our health practitioners. In fact, we've doubled our health practitioners from 1 GP to 2. We've actually had some physiotherapists move into the area, and all of our businesses are full. So when you create opportunities for success, success breeds upon itself. And one of the key hallmarks of that success was Christy Clark, the first sitting premier of the province of British Columbia, visited Midway for the first time ever. So in 100 years, we never had a premier come to Midway. She came and kicked off her economic development plan for Midway in 2011 for a successful election bid. Whether you support her or not doesn't really matter, but she came to Midway, first sitting premier ever. The other thing that's happened is we won the Economic Development Prize for small municipalities all across British Columbia in 2011, 2012. So I'm here today to talk about what are the opportunities, what are the possibilities here in Soyuz, and what is it that we're trying to do in Soyuz, and what is it that we're trying to create in Soyuz. And I don't have, or I'm not presumptive enough to make those decisions. And we can build configurations for whatever it is that you're looking for: long-term care, residential care, low-cost senior housing, rental units, strata units, etc. But what we need to do is we need to partner with the municipality. And why this has come to bear is ever since we did the mill in Midway, I've been approached by municipalities all across the country, municipalities across the globe, to do various economic development projects. And we've come up with some really unique and interesting partnership opportunities. You have land, you have seniors, and you have need. And that land base is what's so very valuable and so very important. And so what we're looking at is a partnership with the organization that builds on top of that land. And we can build whatever it is that you're looking for: long-term care, residential care, assisted living, etc. And we can build them in pods of 14 to 18 units. That's the configurations that we're using. And we can build those units in 10 to 12 weeks. So you give me the land, we can have 14 to 16 units, 14 to 18 units up in 10 to 12 weeks. And every 10 to 12 weeks we can deliver another 14 to 18 units. The problem is we can't deliver to the low-income senior. We can't deliver to the 80% collecting the guaranteed income supplement at $317,000 cost. And so what we'd like to do is look at partnershiping with the municipality of Soyuz by reducing that cost by taking out the land situation. And if we take out the land, which we've priced at $100,000 per unit, we can reduce the cost down to about $200,000. At $200,000, we can create a strata situation whereby we can bring in houses at or housing units at $200,000, and we can bring in rental units in the $600 to $800 range, and we can bring in long-term care amenities at the $1,200 to $1,600 mark. So the magic is, how do we acquire that land, and how do we partnership with the municipality of Soyuz? So what we're looking at is you providing the land, not for free, but providing it in terms of a lease or a mortgage with a strata over a 50-year period of time. So the strata fees that each of the tenants will pay in these units goes to buy and acquire that land over a long period of time. So what we're looking at is, what are the land-based areas that you have in this town that you own? What would you like to do on that land base? And what would you like to see happen on that land base? And are you interested in developing a process for affordable housing in the village of, or in the city of Soyuz? And so what we need is a champion. Every community needs the champion. Randy Kappas was the champion in Midway when we did the mill in Midway. The founder's grandson, Doug McMahon, was the city and municipal leader in in the village of Midway. Boundary Sawmills was created in 1946 by his grandfather. We reincorporated that company in 2011, and it's been a successful story. So my background is in financial planning. I've got offices all across British Columbia. My clients are demanding affordable seniors housing. We're not providing it. The marketplace isn't providing it. And the government is saying, you guys need to be aware of what's coming because your municipalities are going to be flooded with this demand. So I'll turn it over to questions, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hill. You're very enthusiastic about this, and it definitely is something that is on our radar. It's something in our long-range plans that we are looking at, and our planning director, Mr. Cunningham, is over here, and I think he would be quite helpful in answering a lot of your questions about what we have and what we have available right now. So thank you. You've given us something to think about, and I do know that about a couple of weeks ago, the Vancouver Sun phoned me and said, we're doing a survey on places that have a lot of seniors, and what are you guys doing about it? And so I talked to him a little bit, said that we do realize it, that we do have we're a resort municipality. We're dealing with the things that we can do, and we certainly have it in the back of our mind all the time. So I'm going to turn it over to council. Anybody like to? Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor McCullough. Just a question. Have you built any of these before, Stephen?
No.
No? And for this particular unit, you said 16, 18 units. About what size of piece of property would you need?
Well, it depends on how high you go, and this is a 2-story building, and that's about 1/3 of an acre. If you go to 4 stories, then you have to do elevators. And so again, it's what is it you're looking for in terms of, you know, your streetscapes. Do you want 2-story buildings? Do you want 4-story buildings?
I guess it goes back to providing the best cost for the seniors.
Well, exactly. And that's 35-foot towers or 35-story towers, and we don't want to go there. So it's the trade-off between your land cost and your density. And so the higher we go, the more dense we can go. But 1/3 of an acre, we can get 14 to 16 units. And again, it depends on your parking requirements. And your outside parking takes up a substantial amount of room, but it's your underground parking that creates the magic where you build on top of your parking.
Creates more cost for going underground.
Absolutely.
Big cost.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. But that's one of the requirements for every unit, how many parking spaces that we require. So that's the key. And like I said, we can build these for half the cost across the line, and we can buy these things in Vegas for $70,000 to $80,000. So it's interesting demographics when you start looking at it on a global.
Is that where you'd be bringing them from, the States?
No, we'll be bringing them from Kelowna and Penticton.
So you did say, and Mr. Cunningham, just a sec, that you could put these up in 2 or 3 months, and our concern is, where would you get the labor to do this? Or are these prefabs that would be brought in?
These are built in factories 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Kelowna.
Okay.
They're modular. They come on trucks. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
they can be assembled very quickly, and so the developer or the contractor in Kelowna builds them.
Okay.
Installs them. Yeah.
And there are various plans, are there, that somebody could choose from if they wanted to look at this?
You've got 1 to 3 layouts with studios all the way up to 3-bedroom conventional, but we're looking at small.
Yes.
The magic is to go upper scale, so we're looking at the $300 and $400 per square foot. So we're talking, you know, the granite and the quality, the quality build. But when you build at $300 a square foot, 600 square feet, it's $180,000. When you build at $300 a square foot at 2,000 square feet, it's $600,000. So the market's building on the upper end; they're not building on the smaller end. So we're looking at high quality but small. And then the idea is you have a shared accommodation unit, because generally a senior is buying an extra bedroom for the guests that come once or twice a year. But with a shared accommodation unit, you have a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom configuration, but your guests stay in an outside facility that they can rent for $10 a night or $20 a night. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Cunningham?
Yeah, I just want to remind, pardon me, I got a habit of doing this or not doing it. I just want to remind council and also provide for your own information what it says in our affordable housing policies, which were prepared a couple of years ago after input from a citizen affordable housing strategy task force. So we identified a number of priority needs, and the first one was for moderate income working households. The second one was for short-stay workers, and third, low-income and special needs households. And then fourth, elderly seniors on fixed incomes, which is, I believe, what we're talking about here. And at that particular point in time, we did not envision the municipality getting involved in a major way, perhaps as a partner. What the policy does say is that we would monitor the situation very carefully to see whether there was an increasing number of people at risk in the community. And quite frankly, we don't know how many there are. Perhaps you do know, and that's a question I have for you. And then the point of this particular policy was that you know, we would use our good offices to advocate for those people with the province, with the intent that the provincial government would be stepping up and taking up their responsibilities with specially tailored initiatives to meet this particular need. So another question I have for you is, have you looked at the possibility of provincial participation, and what kind of form would that take if that was the case?
Well, those are all very good questions, and I don't call it citizens in need. I call it citizens that are trapped. And it's people that are 60, 70, 80, 90 years of age that are trapped in their homes because they can't sell their single family residence, and they're now struggling with the maintenance of their roof and their siding and their pipes and electrical and so on, because they don't have affordable housing to go to. And so, you know, it's the empirical evidence which is so significant. I mean, the fastest growing addition is in-law suites. Mm-hmm. And so the solution is to move in with the children. And it's not necessarily the children that want that to occur, but that's what's happening by design, or not by choice, but by circumstances. Mm-hmm. And so we have similar groups in Castlegar that are trying to accomplish this problem. We have similar groups in Roslyn that are trying to accomplish this problem. This is not a unique Soyuz issue. This is a unique demographic British Columbia interior, British Columbia problem. And this problem is going to exacerbate itself because, like I said, there's another 60 buses of 65-year-olds coming into town tomorrow. And there's another 65 buses coming in tomorrow. And so the province is trying to figure out how to grapple with it. The federal government's trying to figure out how to grapple with it. But the magic is, it's the municipalities where the citizens are living, right? And this is where it can start. And what we need to do is we need to create a model that works. I'm not a property developer. I'm a financial planner dealing with aging seniors that are all telling me the same thing in multiple jurisdictions across British Columbia. What the municipality has is the municipality has the land. And so the key is can we make it work and show it on a small scale, and then go to the province and go to the federal government with proposals that work. Okay. And so we need to create a Southern Interior British Columbia initiative, and then take it to the province and take it to the federal government, because they're all looking for projects that work. $300 million to First Nations housing, federal government, 99 units built in the last 10 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw that article.
Yeah, I heard about it on the radio.
Right. There's massive amounts of dollars that are floating around out there, and they're not working. So the federal government is gun-shy because they don't want to stick up millions of dollars for programs that don't work. So I think if we take the initiative at the municipal level, we can move it up through the provincial level and the federal level. Too often we're looking for the federal government and the provincial government for our solutions. I think the solutions can start right here today, and then we can come with workable processes going forward.
Thank you very much for your information, but my advice for council, if you're wishing it, would be that we need to get a handle on precisely what are the dimensions of this particular problem in Soyuz. I am sure that there are some people who are in need on fixed incomes, but quite frankly, we don't know the size of that particular group, other than sort of very, very general statistical knowledge. And to go from there, identify what the need is, and then look at the particular solutions in terms of what would be the best contribution, the most suitable contribution that could be made by the municipality, given that the overall responsibility for people in this particular group is provincial. And I'm not saying that municipalities shouldn't do anything. I'm just saying they have primary responsibility.
Yes. And what we want to look at is we want to look at the life cycle of that need. And the first cycle is, the independent senior moving from an independent dwelling into an independent living unit. Yeah. And then you have to fast forward 5 or 10 years down when they need the assisted living. And then you need to fast forward down when they need the extended care. Yeah. And what we're proposing is a unit where they can stay inside the complex, but they move from the independent living to the assisted living to the long-term care, all within the same complex. And so the magic is creating, first floor, second floor type opportunity where when you're independent, you're on the first floor, and when you're needing assisted living, you move up to the second floor, and then when you need the assisted living, you move down the hall sort of concept. And so it's not just the today need, it's the tomorrow need of our aging society. And if my demographic research is correct from Statistics Canada, Soyuz demographically is the oldest community in British Columbia, and Oliver's #2 and Trail's number 3. And again, it's tough to monitor, in small municipalities of 5,000 and 6,000 and 7,000 that demographic. But empirically, I would say that there's a lot more gray hair walking around town.
Thank you, Mr. Romenko.
Yeah, just for this council's background information, correct me if I'm wrong, Director Cunningham, but when the policy was done, there was kind of an assessment of the market, and the market may have been down at that time. But aside from the fact that that's a multi-living, stepped approach to handling people's living needs, but the market here in town, there were a number of what would be referred to as lower price condominiums available, and maybe Councillor Youngberg could speak to that. Is that our market here in town does address, and I'm just using like the 180 to probably 225, 250 market. There are a number of units that are available in town in that market. Am I not? Yes.
Yeah, I think one of the.
Go ahead, please do.
I think one of the major concerns that's facing us in the future is exactly what Mr. Hill has addressed. However, at this point in time in Osoyoos, we seem to cover the needs because we have Elks Villa and we have 3 other apartment projects that allow people in under $600 a month. So we're sort of trying to cover the need, but the need will be monumental within 5 years. And what's happening with most of the people that we have dealt with, they moved to Penticton. Yes. Because the hospital's there, and they now have got one complex that is being built where the subsidy of the, I think it's, the average income per year is $22,000, I think, and so they get subsidized from the provincial government if their income's under that. So that's what we're doing right now. However, I see this concept as being really positive if we can come up with any kind of a land agreement, because those people still do spend money in our community regardless of their income stature, and I think it would be a great project. We're also very interested in rental housing. If we could come up with a program where we could get some lower cost rental housing, which may be seasonal, that we could look at filling in the winter as well as our summer months. But I think this is a great concept. I've been in the business over 40 years, and we did this in Kelowna in 1971 or 2 and started these projects. A fellow by the name of Jabs Construction, I don't know if you've ever run into him, and it is still successful to this day. So I think it's a great idea, and it's semantics. That's all. Have to work out what we can come up with, because the need will definitely be there if it isn't today.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. What we're seeing in our communities is our children are moving away first, and so I have 2 university children, one at Dalhousie and one at Waterloo, and I don't anticipate them ever coming back to Roslyn, where they were raised for the last 20 years. And then the senior retires in a small community like Osoyoos or Castlegar Trail or Grand Forks, and then when the death of the first senior comes, then the second senior generally moves as well. So not only are we losing our youth, we're losing our seniors as well, and they're moving to Penticton, and they're moving to Kelowna, and they're moving to Vancouver, and they're moving to Calgary to be closer to the health care. The beautiful thing that Osoyoos has is the location and proximity to the healthcare facility in Penticton. So if we can offer, affordable housing choices where you can make the decision to come to Osoyoos with decent transportation to the hospital, I mean, traveling from Osoyoos to Penticton Hospital is no different than traveling from Mississauga to Toronto in terms of getting access to your hospital. So people think in Toronto the hospital is close, but some people in the city live with over an hour's drive. And so we're seeing that drain. And you are correct. The senior who earns $1,300 a month spends their money in the area. And if we don't have the housing stock, then people make decisions to move to Summerland, to move to Peachland, to move to Penticton, and to move to Kelowna. And we're seeing that the smaller communities are being sucked, and the larger communities are creating that vacuum and that need. I live in a 600 square foot condo in Kelowna, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. I love it. It takes 2 minutes to clean.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. I thought it was interesting what you just said, that the young people are leaving town, going to university, not coming back. And I think that clearly states another need, and I think we're at both ends of the spectrum here, where I agree, and especially over the next 5 years, where we're going to see the need for affordable low-income housing for seniors. But it also, to what you stated, the other side of that is affordable housing for young people to come to the community. As more jobs are created year over year in the tourism sector here, one of the biggest challenges is having affordable housing for young families to relocate here. So I think it's both ends of the spectrum have opportunities here.
Yes, and tourism jobs are great jobs, but they're generally $12 and $14 an hour jobs. They're not $20, $25 an hour jobs, and so it makes it difficult for them to afford that. But it's the movement of your housing stock. So if you've got seniors that are 70, 80, and 90 living in 2 and 3 bedroom homes, they're holding up that housing stock to turn over to the younger families to regenerate those neighborhoods. So if we can create a movement where we can create brand new housing stock on the senior level to free up the houses for single family units to move into, then it creates a bit of movement. We're struggling with that issue in Grand Forks right now. And the kids who've got jobs at Roxall and Interfor, and Roxall has been a huge, tremendous success story. We've moved from 25 jobs to 200 jobs in the last 20 years, making the full insulation there. They're looking for houses, but there just isn't those houses available on the market because their parents and grandparents are still living in them, and they're not moving out of them. So there isn't a natural turnover. So by creating senior housing, you can actually free up your single family unit housing for young people in their starter homes and so on.
Thank you. I think carriage homes is another thing that's being looked at as well, on the laneway homes where you can add that other component on. Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Hill. You've given us a lot to think about, and we are always open to new ideas, and of course we have to deal with our planning issues and what we have in town already, but we just thank you for bringing this to us, and I know that you and Mr. Cunningham have exchanged cards, so if there's any other concerns that you have or questions you have, please contact Mr. Cunningham. Sure. Anybody else? Yes.
Would you please leave a card for me?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
And I'd like to thank you for your time. And like I said, I'm not a developer, and if you can find a local developer to take this off my shoulders, that would be great, and I'll happy to work with them. My job and experience is bringing qualified people together to a particular problem and bringing it to a successful conclusion. And good. I urge you to talk to Randy Kappas from Midway next time you're at an event and talk about the magical things that have happened 1 hour's drive from here in Midway. Yeah. Right? It's a tremendous opportunity. And I know if we get ahead of the curve, and Osoyoos and Oliver and Grand Forks and Midway and Greenwood and the boundary in Okanagan and Canooties can work together, we can solve this problem, because you think it's an issue today. Just imagine what's going to be like 10, 15 years from now when we're all there. And thank you for your time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Okay, going back to the business meeting, we're going to be talking about watering restrictions. And we asked Mr. Romanko to come up with to provide this on the agenda today, because we're quite concerned about that's #1 issue on the whenever you listen to the news. And I did see this morning on Global News that Vancouver has already put in watering restrictions on homes. They're now down to 3 days a week. So it is an issue. This is the second warmest, driest May since, I'm not sure, 1940 or something like that. So thank you, Mr. Romanko, for putting this on the agenda. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Attached, please find an email from the BC River Forecast Center that provides current snowpack and river flow conditions. Some of the characteristics being presented include lower than normal snowpack in all regions. Warm weather has created quick thaw that results in high stream flows for this period of time. Potential results, flooding in some areas, and also early low flow river conditions in summer unless high rainy periods occur. Another email from the Okanagan Basin Water Board that Osoyoos water supply is lake level influenced and level is controlled by the dam in the U.S. No water shortages at this time. Later in the summer there may be some water shortages. BC is gearing up for a drought team. And BC Hydro notes this is the 4th lowest water year on record. As an overview, the attached water conservation and staged restrictions bylaw 1273 provides regulation for water conservation measures. These actions include normal water procedures promote water conservation through direct on hours of watering based on nature of system. Level 2 is alternate watering days. Number 3 is twice a week watering. Number 4 is once a week watering. Level 5 is no lawn watering, and level 6 is no outdoor watering. This bylaw is enforced on general community patrol basis and on complaint. Last year, 12 water regulation packages were handed out to people improperly using water. Additional information, notices of water regulations are placed in the newspapers. The attached emails provide information that leads one to consider that this year may be an exceedingly dry year. Therefore, proactive water conservation measures may be considered for implementation. Provided below is the direction to implement contained water within the bylaw. It's these glasses of mine. So one is determining the restrictions. The council has a responsibility and will determine the stage of restrictions based on the reservoir capacity, stream flow, or precipitation. The notice, the CAO will give notice or cause notice to be given to persons within the town of the applicable stage and its effective dates if available. The notice under Section 8 of the bylaw must be given at least once before the commencement of the applicable stage and within a reasonable time after the determination of the CAO to alter the stage notice. And the notice under subsection 8 must be published on the town's website and broadcast from a radio station, and may also be published by any other means determined by the CAO. So the options that are before council right now, continue with current watering practices with requests for public and bylaw to be more proactive and monitoring illegal water practices. Additional media efforts can be made to provide more education on this matter. Option 2, council provides direction at a regular council meeting to implement the alternate day watering immediately within the provisions of the bylaw. Number 3, administration is directed to prepare the public for future alternate day watering through increased education through the media. This topic is brought to council for discussion and direction to move to council's meeting for direction to implement an alternate day watering, increased education for the current practices, or laying the groundwork for future alternative days watering practices. Council must consider that an alternative day watering direction may require additional expenditure of water-related funds for additional media activities or bylaw hours.
Thank you very much for bringing this forward. I just wanted to say that last night I was watching 60 Minutes. Did anybody else see it? And there was a segment on water, and of course it's based in the States. One of the things that they're concerned about is drilling wells in places where they need water for irrigation for crops, so it's presumably California. And they were going deeper and deeper and deeper in order to access aquifers, which have a difficulty refilling again. That was one of the things. The other thing, and I'm glad Mr. Doucette is here, that that in one place they can change sewage to drinking water in 45 minutes. And so I'm just wondering if you would take that on. I'm kidding. But there's quite a procedure for doing it, and I'm sure it was very expensive. But the reporter actually drank the water in 45 minutes. So it is a huge issue right now. There are drought plans being made in BC with the Water Stewardship Council. Washington's already in a drought. That being said, June in Osoyoos is often a wet month. And so anytime I see a rain cloud, I'm happy. I think we need it. And we just don't want the deluge coming down and hail, which we often get along with it. But definitely we're supposed to be in for some rain tomorrow. So I think we'll do a rain dance.
Yeah.
Anyway, anybody else like to? Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important, and not, out of due respect, I think the information that was given on Global this morning, it is in fact the driest in record.
Second driest.
Well, they said the driest in since records have been. There's no doubt that we're in a serious drought situation, and just for argument, we always have been for decades. We've always been in a serious drought. I know there's obvious arguments about that. I've had this conversation with our director about that before, and the irrigation thing always kicks in, and where we get our water from and how much. But there is no doubt that we have low water supplies and extremely high usage rates right in our own community here. I really like this. I know the email that I circulated from Anna Warwick Sears paints a very, very grim picture of where we're at with water in our community. And to me, she's the guru. She's the #1 person. She works at this all the time. And I have absolutely no reason to doubt anything that she says. Her recommendation is to move forward with the alternate watering. I kind of like the twice-a-week watering thing myself, to bump it up one more phase. Every plant in this community will survive at twice-a-week watering. There is no doubt that your grass is not going to turn brown, your plants are not going to die, and it has so much benefit towards water conservation by moving that forward. So that's kind of the way I feel about it.
Thank you. Councillor King?
Thank you, Mayor McCordock. What time of year do we usually implement alternate watering?
We haven't in the past. We haven't moved to any in the almost 7 years that I've been here. That we've always stayed on our regular watering, and in the bylaw, that there allows for irrigation watering in the morning only, and I think sprinkler water can be watered up till 11 o'clock, and then in the evening, and that's the procedure we've been following. And trying to monitor with some bylaw hours as best we can, to like I said, 12 packages were dropped off last year at people who were not following the appropriate watering procedures.
I do recall having somebody come to my house, and it was a few years back, with a suggestion of using low flow meters in the house, and I know that we are considering it in small ways, such as toilets that are put in new houses, I think, are low flow or take less water. Many appliances do that now too. So, but we really have to, I think, make the public aware that this could be, they look out, and we all do, and we look and we see a lake out there and we think, well, why should we be worried about water? There's water right there. But a very small amount, the Zozal Dam decides to adjust their rates in order to keep water on the plants down in Washington. They have to keep a certain amount because of the fish coming up. So there's a ton of variables that affect this, but we really need people to be thinking about how much water do you use, where can you cut back, and if we all did that, that would be a positive step. I don't recall, we do have quite a water bylaw in here that, where all of these steps are laid out and how it happens. I sort of agree with Councillor Rhodes that we need to kind of take steps now so that maybe we don't need to enact it right away, but we need to have it ready. And I realize that there is a cost to it, for sure. Councillor Youngberg.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I think education and communication from council to the residents of the town is just it's key. We have had in my years of living here an opportunity to alternate our watering, where we could water Monday, Wednesday, Friday on even numbers, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday on uneven numbers, and we've had to practice that in my tenure of living here. And I think that the hours of watering now are absolutely perfect, but I don't know how we're going to monitor people to observe the regulations. And again, I suggest that, you know, we just have to be out there. We have to be out there talking and be prepared to have a bylaw officer in place, so that if we're going to implement something of this nature, we have to follow through with enforcement, or it goes on deaf ears. And just my recommendation and thoughts on the topic. Good, but definitely of serious consideration.
I agree. Councillor King.
Yeah, I actually make a resolution on option number 2, that we implement implement alternate day watering immediately within the provisions of the bylaw.
Okay, so that in fact should go to a regular council meeting. So if council would like, we can put this item on the agenda for this afternoon's meeting, so that the bylaw action, if council so desires to implement the bylaw, that the actions can be discussed and debated this afternoon.
No, second resolution.
So the resolution is to bring this report forward to the afternoon, or resolution 2, the whole report?
Yeah, the resolution would be to move this item onto the afternoon's agenda for debate and direction.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Are all in favor of that? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to say anything about this issue? Thank you very much. And we hope Mr. McGuire will be putting some issues about this in the paper, because I think that really people look at that and they need to look at that information that's put out there. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the business plan update, and I think that is Mr. Emenko.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. The business plan identifies that the administration will report to council on their project advancement 3 times a year. In the business planning session, the council's strategic priorities chart was completed with Gord McIntosh. Council administration agreed to make this a living, working planning document. The process for maintaining the chart as a living document includes the administration's commitment to complete these activities, council's commitment to these projects as priority activities, reporting on progress to complete project, and highlighting factors affecting progress, continuing to identify council project priorities when projects are completed. I might just add that this particular process has been identified as a best practice in municipal government administration, and continues our methods of providing transparency in governance and management in our municipal projects. So the attached reports from the CAO and the directors provides a highlight review of the priority projects identified and approved by council in the business planning process. The attached council strategic priorities chart illustrates that additional priority projects need to be identified by council. The intended process is as follows. 1, CAO and directors provide an overview of project achievements on May 19th, which has been completed. The directors identify new priorities for chart and council discussions at the June 1st committee of the whole meeting. And next, that council identifies priority activities to fill the council priority section and next sections at the June 1st COW meeting. Council may also wish to revisit the council advocacy section and reaffirm the existing activities and or identify new projects. So the attached forms. Okay, so the options presented are council provides a new list of council priorities and next projects. 2, council provides no new project priorities, and the CAO and directors continue to work on all projects in a priority as established by the CAO and the directors. And 3, council delays providing direction to a later date. So we're looking for direction on one of the 3 options. And the first chart in that we've got here provides that it illustrates kind of a missing tooth formula. You can see that we've got in the council priorities 2 projects were taken out of council priorities list. One was the repurposing of the airport lands, which was council's #1 priority. That project is now gone out as directed. And project number 3 relates to the I'm not sure what it was, but it was completed. It was a project that was completed. And also in the next area, there's a number of different missing slots because all those projects were completed by the administration over the last 3 or 4 month process. So the next chart highlights in red the recommendations from the administration, which they feel are their next priority projects, and if council feels that that they can be moved up to one of council's priorities, certainly we can do that, and then it's a matter of just filling the rest of the chart to provide the direction to the administration. So for the benefit of people watching, right now in council's priorities, the priorities are one, the second priority as established in early discussions is a desert park facility capital improvements, and those are currently underway, but there's also some work that needs to be done to establish additional works there. The other priority is the Richter property redevelopment, and the other one is the water metering strategy final report, which is still on schedule for September, and a draft report to council in July. The next projects are the regional transit governance, and this involves working to ensure that the BC Transit Master Plan is implemented. One of the recommendations that we get a regional transit governance system here. Next is the 74th Avenue reconstruction, which is we're going to an open house later this week. Destination Associates Partner Agreement. This partner agreement comes to an end at the end of this year. Next one is the Recreation Commission restructuring, which involves changing to a community services board or committee. And next is the Gyro Park, the Gyro Plaza Phase 1 and 2 development. Next is the 2016 budget development process, which traditionally starts in August, where I meet with council and take a look at what the priorities are. And then downtown revitalization was in the council priorities, and administration has moved that to the next level because it's kind of identified for 2015-16. It's still in council's priorities. I noticed that Destination Associates is looking at taking some initiatives in those areas. So those are some of the priority projects that the administration sees working over the next 3-4 months. Certainly, they will not. Many of them will not be completed because they've got an extended life to them.
Thank you very much. It's always nice to see that there are projects that have been completed, and we like to see that. Is there anybody that would like to comment on anything here? I'm looking at a couple of these projects that have been identified as possibly moving up, and because the downtown revite is something that Destination Esuias has, in their annual report, has agreed to kind of, I think, spearhead. I think that working with the DO partnership agreement will obviously deal with that. So those two sort of go together. So I personally would like to see that be a priority up at the top. And I think the 74th Avenue reconstruction is already ongoing, and I think it's tomorrow night that we have an open house about that. I think it's an important issue because at 74th and 85th is, I think, the low point in the town, and we need to make sure that we deal with that issue before we have any more problems. So those are two that I definitely think need to go on, and I do know that the regional transit governance, I believe it's on the agenda for our RDOS meeting this week, so I can bring back some further information on that. Anyone else? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. At the upper, the 5 things in the council priority portion, I always like that word council priorities because it makes one sound more important than number 5, but they are all pretty important issues. I would like to make a suggestion that we move our water meter strategy final report up to number 1 for 2 reasons. First off, it's blank right now, and it would be nice to have something in there. And I think the results that we see from our report that we're going to receive in September, I think we all know deep down inside exactly what they're going to say. So, you know, having some preparation and having that as our first priority would certainly be very beneficial to everybody on council. I'd also like to bring forward one of the comments that was brought forward from one of the water councillors in Oliver when we had our joint council-to-council meeting last week, that in Oliver, when they brought in water metering, there was a lot of backlash from the community. However, at the end of the day, and now it's there and part of the routine and part of the lifestyle in Oliver, from the water councillor's mouth came the words, it was probably the best thing that we ever did for water conservation in the South Okanagan right now. And you know, whether we like it or not, we're moving in that direction out of necessity. And I'd sure like to see that bumped up to our top priority right now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. I would agree with Mayor McCordoff on the Destination Esuias partner agreement. Having looked at that annual plan, I think it's important that we start discussions sooner than later on what that agreement could look like and see if those annual plans are realistic based on the current operational structure and resources that they have. So I would agree that could be moved up into the priorities.
Okay. Anyone else? So does that fit, Mr. Romanko? Can we make a motion to move those up then to the priorities? The Destination Esuias, the 2 items there that go with that, and have the water metering strategy move to the number 1 position?
Yes.
Was that?
Okay.
And perhaps I'm thinking the Gyro Park Phase 2 is something that we're looking at this year, and I think maybe we could move that up. That seems to be.
Okay, so we would have to.
Oh, we got 6 then. Uh-oh.
Well, you can move one down, and just bring it into the next section. But again, it highlights what council's priorities are.
Mm-hmm. So we have 1 water metering strategy, 2 Desert Park, 3 Destination Esuias.
Partner agreement.
Yeah, the partner agreement. 4 Gyro, and 5 the Richter property. Does that make sense? Councillor Rhodes?
Just one quick comment about the Richter property thing. Perhaps we should just leave that kind of open until we finish our business today. There's an item that may influence that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can leave that on there, but, or we can, we don't need to move it, I don't think. We can just leave it there for now. Is that all right?
Yes,
If
that'd be
we do
fine,
that?
yep.
Okay. So is anybody else would like to speak to that? So did you need a motion that we would?
Yeah, and you're comfortable with the other next projects that have been brought forward by the administration as priorities to work on?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
the budget, yes,
Okay.
that has to be done. And I think that the resort municipality is an interesting one because we do have a meeting next week where we're going to discuss this, and I think there could be some you know, agreements come out of that.
Yes, what I did is I moved the OBWB ones together, and that created a slot for
Thank you.
council priority.
And Mr. Emenko's going to a resort municipality initiative meeting this week for CAOs of the 14 resort municipalities. So I think by next Monday, when we have this meeting with Gord McIntosh, that we may have some information to talk about at that time. Okay? Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
Boy, for a meeting where you're not supposed to have resolutions, we're sure having a lot of
We've had it
resolutions today.
Well, as a matter of clarification, that you can make resolutions at a committee of the whole meeting. We always could. What the resolutions can't do is spend money, pass bylaws, but you can provide direction to the administration.
Good.
So I'd like to offer that motion to reorganize our priorities in our next category.
So that would be option 1?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there somebody like to second it? Councillor King? All in favor? Thank you. So I believe that is the end of the committee of the whole meeting. Could I have someone move the adjournment, please, of this meeting? Councillor Campbell, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. We'll see you later.
My father is Mr. McGuire, I'm Richard.
We have to be very formal, I think.
I know.
Can't call people by their first names. Are you coming back for the annual meeting at 1 o'clock?
Yes, I'm going to try to, yes.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Could we have a couple minutes?
Sure.
And,
You're the mayor. You can have all the time you